Good evening, councillors, officers, members of the public. Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Scrutiny Management Board. Please be aware that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the council's YouTube channel, and I welcome visitors online. Please ensure that mobile phones are either set to silent or switched off for the duration of the meeting. If anyone in the gallery is registered to speak at the meeting, you will be announced and named and invited to address the board at the appropriate time. We will now move on to the first item. Yeah. We'll now move on to the agenda, election of a new chair. Announcement that Councillor Christopher Kellett has been replaced on the Scrutiny Management Board by Councillor Gavin Beals. Welcome. As Councillor Kellett was the chair of the board, there is now a vacancy in the office of chair. Constitution states that when an in-year vacancy in the office of chair arises, the relevant committee or board shall appoint a new chair at the next available meeting. Accordingly, the board is invited to propose and second a candidate for chair. Do I have a proposer for a candidate for chair?
I'd like to propose Councillor Conway.
And a seconder?
I second that.
And all those in favour? Carried.
Thank you, members. I would like to remind members of the procedure for tonight's agenda. Should members wish to amend, remove or add additional recommendations or requests as part of our debate, then they need to state and propose their recommendation at the appropriate time and seek a seconder to then confirm the recommendation. Members will then vote on the additional or amended recommendations as necessary. I ask all members to be mindful of this when preparing questions and comments to ensure that each item receives appropriate attention and scrutiny within the available time. Should it appear that the meeting will run past the constitutional meeting guillotine time of 9 p.m, then I will ask members to vote on whether to extend the meeting to finish the business on the agenda by a new time. We will now move to the second item on the agenda, apologies received for absence.
Thank you, Chair. We've had apologies from Councillor Helen Howell.
Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 3 then. This is minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of June 25. Can I ask members if they're happy for me to sign off the minutes of the last meeting as a true and accurate record? Only those who were present in the meeting can actually approve this. So we've got a proposer, Councillor Gibbs, and seconder, Councillor Williams. I appreciate it, thank you. Thanks for that, councillors. I'll move on to agenda item 4, notification of requests to attend the meeting.
No requests, Chair.
Thank you. And we move on to agenda item 5, declarations of interest. Can any member on the board confirm that they are... Oh, sorry. Has any member of the board here got any declarations of interest? Excellent, that's fantastic, thank you. So agenda item 6 is the Scrutiny-Executive Protocol. The purpose of this report is to approve the draft Scrutiny-Executive Protocol, which has been developed to help create a better understanding of the role of scrutiny in the executive. I'd like to invite Chris Stevenson to introduce the item.
Thank you, Chair. So as you say, this item is for the board to consider and approve the adoption of a Scrutiny Executive Protocol a copy of which is attached as Appendix A or page 15 in your agenda. As members know, Scrutiny Management Board has the constitutional responsibility to set the direction and practice of scrutiny within the Council. And as part of this, and as part of the drive to develop exemplary governance in the Council, a Scrutiny-Executive protocol has been developed which will provide a clear framework for engagement between the scrutiny and executive functions. It is built on the principles of transparency, accountability and collaboration, which were very much, if you remember, part of the training that we did earlier in the year. The protocol has been developed in consultation with the leader of the Council and also through informal feedback with scrutiny chairs over the course of the last couple of committee cycles. The protocol has been written to promote a formal working agreement between the executive and scrutiny functions and defines the roles and responsibilities and relationships between the two bodies. And it applies to both executive councillors and also scrutiny councillors, and also the officers who have to service and support both of those functions. I think it's worth pointing out that this protocol is designed to complement the various sections of the existing constitution around the scrutiny procedurals and the executive procedurals. It's designed to complement those and foster a atmosphere of collaboration. And in the spirit of that, there are 4 ambitions for the protocol. The first is to enable councillors and officers to better understand the powers, roles and responsibilities of the scrutiny function. The second is about promoting a culture of mutual respect, trust and courtesy between executive and scrutiny members. The third ambition is to support the focused, transparent and timely scrutiny of council business. Now, we've said in the past that scrutiny is best served or is best delivered when it's focusing on council priorities, and this is a way of supporting that ambition. And the fourth and final ambition of the protocol is to lead, support and enable the training and development of scrutiny members with the intention that all involved can make the best possible contribution to undertaking scrutiny. As I said, the protocol itself is attached at page 15 of the report. There's quite a bit of activity involved in delivering that, and to ensure that this is a protocol that actually means something and is delivered, we've got a good, fairly comprehensive embedding plan to embed it going forward. So the first thing that we do is there is an intention to prepare a promotional campaign amongst members and officers, which will be delivered by our corporate comms team. This will also involve doing some training sessions as well. So as part of that, we are going to be doing a training session with the executive members in next month, early in October. So far, our training has been very much on training the scrutiny members, but also as part of that, of having an effective scrutiny function, we need to work with the executive members and the board of directors to help them understand the perspective of what scrutiny means for scrutiny members, so they can see the other side of the coin. So we're doing some sessions with them early in November. I think there's not much more I can need to say really in terms of by way of introduction and overview. I'd certainly encourage you to read the document and ask me any questions. As I say, it's page 15 of the agenda, and happy to take your questions. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Chris. Do any members have any comments, questions or concerns to raise? Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chair. I just had one very small question. I like the ethos of the report. I think it'll be a good thing for members and officers to have. I think on point 24, it mentions that there will be a council website for publicising scrutiny activity, with it just saying it's under development. I'm just wondering if there was a rough ETA, just more curiosity than anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, it's a good question. So, did you say intranet or... Oh, yes, it's on the website, yes. So we're doing two things, actually. So, and we've picked those up in the next item. So we are updating the members' intranet for the scrutiny presence on the members' intranet, and also we're currently working with colleagues in the web team to enhance the presence of scrutiny on the council's website. The most important thing that we want to put on that is actually a channel to encourage members of the public and residents and concerned people to actually have a channel in to raise scrutiny issues and candidates for scrutiny and questions like that. So it will come. Hopefully, it will be the end of September, beginning of October before it goes live. Okay.
Any other comments, questions or points?
Yeah, just one on monitoring and reviewing, 28 through to 30. Is there going to be a set time placed in for when these reviews, annually, biannually? Just wondered if there's any thoughts on when, because it says monitoring and review, but there's no time scale given or anything like that on. In fact, no, I withdraw that one. 30 annually.
Thank you. For Chris, number 26, it says this report will evidence the effectiveness of scrutiny function. What metrics or KPIs will you be using to measure the effectiveness?
That's a really good question. I think perhaps one of the ways that we'll do that is by doing a survey of members to understand your perceptions of how effective it's been. So obviously it'll be quite a subjective thing, but that again, I guess is to be determined. But that's the initial thinking, is around doing a survey of members, and also we can also review the fact the number of items that have come to the committees, the number of recommendations that have been made, the number of recommendations that have been accepted by executive would be another way of doing that. But they're potentially some of the issues we can look at.
Anyone else? Okay. In that case, we'll bring that to a close.
Chair, could I just say, sorry, just one final point I forgot to make. Subject to your approval of this tonight, we will then be taking this to the executive formally for the executive meeting in October. Sorry, I forgot to say that by way of introduction.
No, that's fine. That's perfect. Thank you. So just as a reminder...
One more question.
Councillor Gibbs.
Sorry, this one's for you again, Chris. On number 31, it's the approvals. The protocol has been approved by the Scrutiny Management Board. It has Councillor Jim Hayquart. Is he a member of the Scrutiny Management Board?
No, he's not a member of the Scrutiny Management Board, but he's a member. He is the chair of the Corporate Scrutiny Committee. So this is why we're putting each chair on there. So currently, Councillor Hayquart is not a member of this board, but he is a chair, and he has seen this independently and separately and supported.
I asked you this question last time. I remember.
You did.
Now. Yep. Never mind.
Okay.
Okay. On that basis, we'll bring that to a conclusion. Did any member have any alterations or recommendations they want to make in separation from the proposal?
Sorry, Chair, just one more point from me. Actually, on the point of Councillor Gibbs' comment about paragraph 31, obviously we will change the members. Councillor Kellett is obviously no longer the chair of the Scrutiny Management Board, so we will update that, obviously. Yeah.
Okay. On that basis, then, the officer recommendation is to consider and approve the draft scrutiny executive protocol attached at Appendix A. Do I have a proposer and a seconder? So proposer, Councillor Whitrow, and seconder, Councillor Williams. Thank you for that. So if we can have a show of hands for all in favour. And that is unanimous. Thank you, members. I can confirm that the members of the Scrutiny Management Board have considered and approved the draft scrutiny executive protocol, and we shall now move on to the next item. So this is agenda item 7, the Scrutiny Development Plan, the September update. The purpose of this report is to consider and approve the content of the Scrutiny Development Plan and consider and approve the plan update report. I'd like to again invite Chris Stevenson to introduce the item.
Thank you, Chair. So, yes, this is the update report for the Scrutiny Development Plan for 25-26. The genesis of this came from it's been a long time coming in the sense it was created as a result of the peer review held last year. And from that, there were a couple of recommendations from the Local Government Association to enhance the function of scrutiny in the council. So, following the elections in May and following conversations with new chairs, etc., and also with officer stakeholders, we developed a 10-point action plan for improving the function of scrutiny for this calendar year, or this municipal year, should I say. So, in paragraph 4.4 on page 29, there are the 10 actions for delivery this year. So, the appendix A contains the updates for each of these individual actions. But in summary, the action plan has 10 key actions. The first one was to operationalise the Children's Scrutiny Committee. So that came out of the recommendation from the peer review. That was agreed at Council in the 6th of March 2025, and the Children's Committee has now live, and it's actually had its second round of meetings chaired by Councillor Whitrow. The second action was to develop a scrutiny induction training programme for new members, or for members new to scrutiny. We ran those sessions from I think it was June and July, wasn't it? Yes, so we delivered those sessions in June and July, and we are now reflecting on the outputs of that training session and working with colleagues in democratic services to continue continuous development for scrutiny members through the member development strategy. So that will be coming to members shortly. The third thing is to run a scrutiny training programme for executive members, which I just referred to in the previous item, which we'll be hoping to do that in the first fortnight of October. And we're also going to be running scrutiny training for officers as well. Now, this is designed at officers of senior management level who come to scrutiny committees. Normally that tends to be directors, assistant directors and heads of service, but this is about building capacity and capability amongst the officer corps as they develop through their journey as development as officers. So we'll be standing item in the corporate training programme for officers every year on scrutiny. The fifth item is the Scrutiny-Executive Protocol, which we've just discussed. And also currently we're reviewing the scrutiny procedure rules, which as part of the Constitution review, which the Constitution Working Group is doing. And that will pick up, again, the point Councillor Gibbs just made up about the chair of the Corporate Scrutiny Committee not being on the Scrutiny Management Board. So we're looking to correct that. Point 7 is developing a scrutiny practice manual. So this will be primarily to formalise all the materials that we put in the training programmes, and then basically creating a scrutiny handbook, which will be aimed at scrutiny members and aimed at officers supporting scrutiny committees. Then, the point I just made, the previous question was around a scrutiny portal on the members' intranet. So Callum has demonstrated that to chairs informally over the last month. Work is progressing on that, and we hope to have that ready and live at the end of this calendar month. Again, picking up the point that Councillor Williams just made about on the Council's website, we're looking to update and make a more interactive presence on the Council's website to encourage public participation in scrutiny. And my final point is actually public participation in scrutiny. So the Council is supporting the National Democracy Week that's going to be happening, and in October, there will be a Democracy Week, and we'll be running some training or some scrutiny awareness raising sessions as part of that. So that is, what I've basically done there is I've read out the action plan, but also giving you an update in terms of the updates that are in the appendix have also been included in as part of that. As I said, this action plan has 10 points, but it's not set in stone. If members wish for anything else to be added into that action or that development plan, we'd be more than happy to do that. I will pause now conclude my intro and happy to take questions.
Any members got any comments, questions or concerns? Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Just on the training for members on scrutiny, I think somewhere in the report it says the uptake on that was 65, something like 65% on the uptake of training. Did that include people going back? Obviously, that was live participants, but was that people looking at the recordings on Teams of those as well?
No, that just related to members actually attending the sessions. We didn't I couldn't interrogate. I don't think we were able to interrogate how many had viewed separately. So this was just people directly attending the sessions that we run actually in this room, I think. Yeah.
Okay, just a couple of points for myself then, if no one else has got anything. In point, can't see the point number now, the training for the officers that you're going to be running, point 4. Just wanted to ask, as part of that training, we've previously discussed about officers that come to the scrutiny sessions to be limiting how much time they do with their introductions to, we said about 5 minutes as a guide, based on the fact that members will have already read the reports. Just want to clarify that's going to be included as part of that officer training, so they're aware from the beginning.
Yes, that's a good point, Chair. So what we'll do is the training programme is kind of reflecting the way that we did it for members. So this is what scrutiny is, this is why it's important, this is how it works, and then there'll be a session about what you do during the actual meeting itself. So absolutely, the message is to get the best value out of scrutiny is actually for the members to have as much input into the conversation as possible rather than a lengthy officer presentation, but that it will be reflected, yeah.
Perfect, thank you. And just one more point on point 10, the encouraging public participation in scrutiny. You said you're going to offer some, during the Democracy Week, you're going to offer some public sessions. Do you know at this stage how many sessions and where they're going to be to open it up to as many members of the public as possible?
I'm not actually responsible for organising that, but I will go away and get an answer for you. I'll get an answer for the committee. My colleague Francesca McHugo is organising that piece of work.
Okay, perfect. That was everything for myself. One last chance. Did anyone else have anything to raise? Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Just on that 5-minute window for officers to do their presentation, presumably there'd still be enough information in the agenda report for members of the public to understand what the context is of that item. Thank you.
Yes, I mean the point I think is about it's getting the balance right, isn't it? So the obviously the papers and the report, the agendas are made available for the public. It's normal practice for officers to give a summary of the report. What we have found, particularly in place and environment, is that the agenda is quite busy and full, and the feedback from the members has been, can we have the officer contribution as brief and succinct as possible, and working from an assumption that members have read the papers. So the balance of that is that maybe there may be less speaking and summary for any members of the public who may be watching, but also it gives members more time to actually do the hard work of actually doing the scrutiny. So that's the judgment that we've arrived at, is probably a shorter preamble and more time for scrutiny.
Everyone covered? Everyone happy? Okay, in that case, just one more thing then. Did anyone have any recommendations separate to those that were recommended by the officers? No? Okay, in that case, the officer recommendation is to consider and formally approve the content of the Scrutiny Development Plan 25 to 26 as detailed in 4.4 of the report. Consider and approve the plan update report attached to Appendix A. And for comments on the content of the plan update report attached at Appendix A. Can I get a proposer and a seconder for this? So we've got proposer Councillor Whitrow, seconder Councillor Gibbs, and then if we can take a vote on whether we agree. So again, that's unanimous. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to agenda item 8, the Scrutiny Work Programme 25 to 26. The purpose of this report is to consider and approve the content of the Scrutiny Work Programme 25 to 26 and consider and approve any amendments. And once again, we turn to Chris Stevenson to introduce the item. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so members, this is the usual item for Scrutiny Management Board to consider, and it's regarding the work programme. So if you remember at our June meeting, an indicative work programme was approved, and that has been further developed over the last couple of months by your scrutiny officers working with directorates and partner agencies to identify items for scrutiny. When we considered this item in June, it was agreed that we would run a consultation exercise of all members of the Council to identify further candidate items for scrutiny, which would then be reviewed and prioritised at a workshop consisting of scrutiny and executive members. However, following the conclusion of the first cycle of scrutiny committees, the Chair of Scrutiny Management Board requested that a meeting be held of all scrutiny chairs and vice chairs to review the experience of delivering scrutiny during the first quarter. Arising from that meeting was a recommendation from the chairs and vice chairs to not proceed with the consultation due to the volume of items that now included in the work programme. So in short, as a result of the work that we have been doing with partners and with directorates, the scrutiny work programme consists of 67 items of business for conclusion or for deliberation during the year. The Place and Environment Committee is particularly feeling the pressure of this, with having to have an additional special meeting held during September. So when we had the informal meeting, it was considered, or the lessons learned session from the first round, it was considered that actually to invite consultation from members to identify further items would actually not be a good idea. It would probably raise expectations about delivering a work programme that realistically would not be able to be delivered. So we would recommend tonight, based on that feedback, that one of your decisions would be not to proceed with that consultation. So the work programme is attached as Appendix A, and you can see there each of the work programmes for each of the committees which have been considered by each of the committees over the last cycle. And also, members are also asked to, what we normally do at this meeting is to also review the Executive Forward Plan to see if there are any items on the Executive Forward Plan that are not currently included in your scrutiny work programmes, to see if there's any items of work on the Executive that you'd want to bring in for pre-decision scrutiny. Page 59 of the agenda is where that starts, or is the next available slot on the Executive Forward Plan, where you can see the items there. There are two other things to note. There are no other items that have been requested for scrutiny that are not part of the work programme already. And also, just to bring to the board's attention, that the Place and Environment Committee have requested the creation of a task and finish programme, or task and finish group, a panel, to look at the issue of the carbon management plan, or more importantly, to actually understand the data that sits beneath the carbon management plan. So that was a request from that committee at its last meeting for this board to approve that request to deliver that program, that plan. I think that's all I need to say by way of introduction, and again, happy to take any questions from members. Thank you.
Any members with any questions, comments, queries or concerns? Councillor Gibbs.
Thank you, Chris. I think we've discussed this offline a couple of times, but I'm a little concerned with the agenda for the health scrutiny. Going forward, we have 3 items for each meeting going forward, and I think last week we had the DHP report, and that took us 2.5 hours just to scrutinise the one item. I know that was a rather lengthy report, but my concern going forward is, if that's how they're going to be going forward, 3 items on the agenda is probably going to be a little bit too much to give it the good quality scrutiny that we should give it. So is there scope in there to increase the amount of dates, perhaps adding another 2 in there so we could get another 4 items in?
To increase the amount of dates to create additional meetings, is that what?
Yeah, let me just explain that last bit. So we have another 4 meetings coming up with 3 items on the agenda each. If we take 1 out of each of those, that would give us 2 meetings with 2 things, and that would give each meeting 2 on the agenda.
Yes, I mean, that's possible. If you want to do that, that's absolutely possible. I mean, one of the things that Callum and I have been discussing, and Raj as well, is in how we support you with your committees, is we are, in some respects, it's a good problem to have. We've got people wanting to bring items to scrutiny, which is actually positive, but we need to find a more intelligent way of managing what actually gets onto the agenda. It's a complex and sometimes difficult equation to balance, because we want to get members to have sight of things, but also it's about a judgment call. So I think what we have agreed between the 3 of us is that we need to go away and kind of think of a sort of like a matrix, which we can then run past committee chairs to make sure that it passes the test of what the sort of things that you want to get to scrutiny, because scrutiny should be looking at the important things. There's an awful lot of stuff that could get to scrutiny, but it's sorting out what's the important and what's the really important thing to. So I guess I'm not really answering the question apart from recognising the problem and undertaking to go away and come back a way of formalising how we can make what goes on to the committees more appropriate.
Thanks, Chris. I don't envy you, but I look forward to the work of yourself and Raj and Callum on that matrix, and look forward to seeing what it looks like.
Thank you, Chair. I don't envy you guys on being chairs of the various scrutiny committees. I mean, they are fairly chocker. Is it normal to have this many items in the kind of pipeline, I suppose? I mean, as you said, it's important that they're there. I mean, they're there for a reason, but obviously not without needing to reinvent the wheel. I mean, presumably there's always been quite a number of items on there. Thank you.
Well, I think perhaps Callum could come in and answer this question. I've only been with the organisation since the beginning of the year, but I think what we have done this calendar year is to really up the ante and the focus of scrutiny. So we've been very proactive in going out and talking with directorates and also with partner agencies, inviting and trying to work with them to get a good supply of data and information to come to the committees to do. The problem with that, I guess, now is we're trying to work out what is the most balanced and an appropriate level of activity. So, I mean, I think in some years it's been difficult to get items on for scrutiny to consider. It's kind of been a bit of an evolving function, and we're still on a journey of making scrutiny good and effective here. So I guess I'm not really properly answering the question in terms of giving you an experience of what it was before, but I think what we have in some is a problem. It's kind of a good problem to have. I'd rather have too much to come rather than be looking for things to bring.
Through you, Chair, if I just come in there, with the scrutiny function previously, there's always been, again, a balance between regular items coming through to scrutiny, regular updates coming through to scrutiny. And as Chris mentioned there, it's currently evolving how we develop that from scrutiny looking into more detail with items rather than constant updates and looking back rather than looking forward.
Anyone with any other comments or questions? In that case, I'm happy to close off on this item. Did anyone have any amendments they'd like to make to the recommendations? Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chair. What's the etiquette with the task and finish? But do we need to vote on that, or is that? Thank you.
So that is contained within the task and finish group for place and environment is actually contained within the work programme. So by approving it, you're effectively giving authority for the panel to proceed.
Okay, on that basis then, I'll just remind what the recommendation is. So that is to consider the items contained in the scrutiny work plan and comment as appropriate. To consider whether any items in the current executive forward plan should be added to the scrutiny work plan for pre-scrutiny. Notes that there are no additional items currently generated by scrutiny that are not part of the work programme. Agree to the recommendation of the scrutiny chairs and vice chairs to not proceed with the formal consultation of members. And finally, to approve the latest version of the work programme 25 to 26 attached at Appendix A. Do I have a proposer and a seconder? So again, we'll go Councillor Gibbs, proposer, Councillor Williams, seconder. Thank you. And if we can take a vote on that, please. And again, that is unanimous. And with all business concluded now, that brings the meeting to a close at 19:36.